Welcome to the recording for Week 6 Class Connect Write-Up. You can see that Week 6 is about object-oriented programming. And object-oriented programming is the main technique on how programs are organized. And you can use it in any language. And the great thing about it is that it gives you lots of flexibility. And you can create modular programs. So, of course, the first thing you want to do is we'll take a look at the write-up. Okay, what capability does OOP provide for the programmer? Well, if we go back here, the capability it provides is it allows to create flexible and modular programs. So that's the great thing about OOP. So as you go through this unit, you're going to learn a lot more about OOP and how programmers use it and how it can be blueprints for the work that a programmer does. In this whole unit, you'll see all the stuff that you're going to learn. I'm not going to go through this whole list, obviously, but you can see class and object, learn about what's called static methods, constructors, look at specific different types of keywords, something called polymorphism, we'll learn about that, and the overloading method. So lots of topics in this unit. Of course, these assignments, the grades are slightly different from what we have, so don't worry about looking at this. Always look at the grade book, as I've mentioned to you before. Here's some of the key words that you've been exposed to, and these are some of the key words I'll be using in this unit. Okay, the introduction part, so let's go to the write-up to see where we are. Okay, section A, page 3, what is the great advantage of using the static method? So what we're talking about here is that when you use object-oriented programming, you can have multiple instances of the objects that you're using. So in this section, in section A, we'll learn about classes, comprehend how to use objects, explain methods and variable usage, etc. So we get to page 3, you can see that it starts talking about class variable and static variable. And then there's something called an instance variable. So an instance variable is used by an instance of a class. You can see it holds a data for a particular object. And that's just really what a general variable would be. So you can read down through this to learn about variables and different types of variables. And using the static field as the variable has really a great advantage in that meaning that you do not have to create objects. So you've seen before in other programming that we had in this class, you had to create a specific object. So with static method, you do not have to create the object. So you can read down here to learn a little bit more about how the static programming works. Back to our write-up. So page 6 is also declaring a variable with the keyword final. So as you go through this, you look at, of course, as always, the different syntax for doing the coding for the programs, and you can read more about all that syntax on each of these screens, just like you always do. The instance variable. So this says from the above program result is the local private variable which you access within the model class. So you can see where result is right here. So private integer result, and it's a local variable. Of course, out here with the 2 slashes, that means that that's just a note for whoever looks at the program, not when the program runs, but to look at the coding. Hit page 6, the final variable. So a variable can be declared using the word final, and once it's declared with final, it should be assigned a value. So if we go back to that write-up, and I know we had that question about it, and it said, what is the result of declaring a variable with the word final? So the result of declaring it with the word final is that it will be a constant and the value cannot change. So if you use the word final on a variable, then it will always be the same. So if you look right here, use count is going to always equal 10 because it's been told the keyword final. So it's no longer a variable. It has been changed to a constant with the word final on it. And essentially it assigns a fixed value. Go back to the write-up, see what else we have. We have no more questions in this section, but we're going to still go through the section. So you start looking at different methods of the void method. So you can read about that and look at what the coding will do. And obviously, as I've told you before, make sure you read below what all the coding is about. Here's a practice activity. So go through this and you can find some of these final terms, or some of these terms I should say, and see where they go within the program. And as they always do, they have you do a sample practice activity, so you can put the coding in here, and you can click down here to look at the answer to see how close you get to it. The final method, you can see, whoops, I'll go ahead and show that to you. It can be overridden. Again, final method, anytime the word final is used, then that's what it means, is final, is that it's the end of it, and nothing else can be done with it. So there's two reasons that you would use it: for performance and design. So you can read about performance, so the program will work quickly without any slow coding. And then design, of course, is what the outlook of the output of the program would be. So you can take a look at both of these, discover why there's an error in that one, and why. So compare these two and find out why this one would work and why the one up above would not work. The final classes. So again, the word final, class cannot be overridden. A little Java tutorial on objects, so go ahead and listen to that, or you can just read the script down here to learn a little bit more about objects. Finally, a practice activity, a drag and drop, and then we have the class and objects quiz, and I have the previews posted already over here for you. Well, that's the inheritance quiz. Actually, the class and objects quiz, you're not going to have that, so there is no class and objects quiz. Okay, section B. Now in section B, we're going to start talking about constructors. And constructor is a method with the same name as its class. We'll learn more about it, what a constructor is in a minute. So you're going to understand constructors, classify characteristics of constructors, look at methods of constructors. So now, what is a Java constructor? So let's go back to the Class Connect write-up and see if we have a question related to that. What are constructors in Java programming? So as you look at this, so constructors are very commonly used, and constructors are special methods that can be used to create and initialize an object. So they're special methods that can be used. And you can read all about constructors here, some of the limitations to them and what they do. But Java, when you set up a class in Java, if you don't define a constructor, then a default constructor will be used. So different characteristics of constructors, and I think we saw this in the previous programming class. Benefits of constructors. So they're invoked automatically when an object is created. So once you have them set up, then they can do a lot of work for you automatically, which makes things real easy. Here's an example of a constructor program. So go through this program and see what the class names are, how many constructors you see. So look at these or examine it, see if you can answer these, and then pull the answers down. Another practice activity, triangle constructor program, so you can give that a try with the coding and then reveal the answers there. Okay, constructors quiz. I do have that posted over here, so there's a constructors quiz preview, so make sure you do that. Okay, section C. Let's go to the Class Connect write-up. So in section C, what is inheritance in programming and what does it allow? So section C, so now we're going to start talking about programming or inheritance. Inheritance allows the creation of hierarchical classifications, but that's not the definition of it yet. So we'll look at that in a second. And what page did that say that was on? So page 3, okay. So we're going to talk about inheritance, and of course this is a sample of genetics inheritance, but inheritance in programming is the same thing. And we'll see the definition in a minute. So the meaning of inheritance, how inheritance works, types of inheritance, etc. Now here's a tutorial on inheritance, and this will tell you the answers, so you can either listen to the tutorial or you can review the script down here. And I'm not going to click on it, but you'll definitely find the answers to that write-up question, either if you listen to this or if you watch this presentation, or if you view the script. The answer to that question will be there for you. And there are 3 types of inheritance. You can see single, multiple, and hierarchical. So there's a class connect write-up question about that, and what it says. So from pages 4 through 9, you're going to find information to list and explain the 3 types of inheritance. So you can see this talks about single inheritance and gives you an example. And here you can do a practice activity, practice program, and then look at the answer down below. So that's single inheritance. Multi-level, so there's an example of an image of multi-level inheritance and a program that has multi-level inheritance. So check that out. Then finally, so the practice for multi-level inheritance, you can give that a try. Then finally, there is hierarchical inheritance. So that Class Connect write-up question had you list and explain all 3 of them. And of course, a sample program for hierarchical. Discussion on inheritance. Of course, we're not doing the discussions in the class, but you can look at this. Look at this flow chart. Take a look at how inheritance might work in real world. A couple of keywords. This keyword. So when you have a method that will refer to an object, an invoked object, then you use this. So you can see down here, you can go and find where that keyword is used. So right in here, keyword this is used. So make sure you read down below here to see what the keyword this does in this specific program. So here's another challenge activity to write some code using the keyword this for the area of a square. And then the keyword super. So very similar to the word this, here's a sample of how the keyword super can be used. And some information about all of that down below here. Practice activity for inheritance. So see what you know about inheritance through that activity. And finally, the class inheritance quiz right over here on the left. So complete that quiz. I have the preview for you. All right, section D. So now we're getting into object casting. Let's go take a look at the write-up. So now we're into section D. Explain what casting is in programming. Now the reason I have this picture right here is when you do metal work, to make a cast of something, so they take this hot metal in this bucket, and maybe they want to make a metal sink or a metal part for a bicycle. They pour that hot metal in the form, and then it makes that part. So that's casting, where you make a form of something. So that's what casting is about. So it converts the value of an object or data type into another type. So that's what this does. It converts this molten metal when you cast it into a solid piece. So that's what casting is. And I think, let's see, yeah, page 1, explain what casting is in programming. So that's all about casting right here. So it converts the value of an object or data into another type. So the infer needs to put in an integer, but they need to enter a decimal, then it would cast that appropriate number. So we're going to look at casting as a Java object, explain casting types, and look at instance of operators. This talks all about casting, so you can either listen to this or read it down here, so make sure you do that. Different types of casting, implicit and explicit. So as you think about it, implicit means that it's secret or not seen. So even, like if you say, just in regular life, if somebody say, well, that was implicitly mentioned, meaning that a person said something, but they really didn't say it directly. So implicit is kind of hidden. And it's really, and in programming, implicit casting, it's not even written in the code. It's automatically handled. The conversion is automatic. So that's implicit casting, where it's done automatically. Explicit is where it is written in the code. So then you can see that it is done. So in this one you can see that the way the casting is done on here, so you can read through this where it talks about explicit casting, and then down below it talks a little bit more about this specific program. So implicit and explicit casting. Little casting practice activity, see what you know about casting. Then instance of. Instance of, it's an operator type, and it does comparisons. And of course we've done comparisons before with if then and things like that. So in this one you can see that the word instance of, then it's just another way to compare things. So if you go down here, public class instance of example, and you can see how that would be input into a program. So you can read down here how it talks about how instance of is used in this program. So the program casting, don't worry about this program activity. Then finally the object casting quiz, have that right over here. All right, section E. So on section E, let's go to Class Connect right up. In section E, what is abstraction? To give an example of how it is used and explain what polymorphism is. So in section E, we're going to start talking about abstraction and interface polymorphism. So we're going to learn what abstraction is, learn polymorphism, and learn about interface. So abstraction is hiding some non-essential information and showing just part of it in the output of the program. So that's what abstraction is. And down here is an example of abstraction. So that was that Class Connect write-up question. What is abstraction? And give an example of abstraction. So there's your information for you. So it's information that is hidden from you. So that's called extraction. So take a look at this program. Which class is extracted? How do you know? So check that out and then check yourself, see if you have the correct answers on that. Interface. Interface, you can see, is a group of variables and method declarations. So this is the sample syntax of using interface. And then down here there's another example of using interface in a program. And let's go to the Class Connect write-up, because I think I had two questions on section E. Explain what polymorphism is. Okay. Sample of an interface program. So read through this to see what the interface does in that program. Abstract class versus interface. We've learned about both of those things, and just give yourself an idea. Go through this web page here, and you should be able to see the difference between these things. And you don't have to turn this in, but it's just an assignment for you to do on your own to learn a bit more about those two topics. Okay, polymorphism. Well, poly, of course, means many, and morph means to change, so changing into many. And in programming, polymorphism allows one method to behave in different ways depending on different factors within the program. So that's what polymorphism is in programming. allows one method to behave in different ways depending on different factors within the program. So that can make life much easier for a programmer. And there are different things that are done with in polymorphism. Overloading is one. So in this section, we're going to look at abstraction, learn about polymorphism, and work with interface. Oh, wait, we did all that. Okay, this is the quiz, sorry. So in the quiz, which is right over here, as always, there's the quiz preview. Yeah, the quiz preview, and then there's the quiz. So that's all set up for you. Finally, section E. Section E is overloading and overriding. So let's go see what Class Connect Write-Up has. And it looks to me, the question down at the bottom says, what is an advantage of overloading? What is an advantage of overloading? So overloading, it's a type of polymorphism, and the overload methods are created. So as we look through this, we'll find out what an advantage of overloading is. So in this section, you're going to implement overloading method and also the overriding method. You'll learn about those too. So polymorphism, we learned about that already. And we know what overloading does. It declares multiple methods within the same class with the same name but with different parameters. Now the advantage of overloading is that when the method is invoked, depending on the number of arguments, an appropriate version of the method is executed. So again, with overloading, this is what it does. This is an advantage of overloading. And the idea behind overloading is that you can do multiple things with one method. So here's method overloading. So you can see this is in an example of how it's put in. And this will tell you a little bit more about it down there. Method override. So we had overloading, now we have override, and there's no Class Connect write-up question about this. But override is creating a method in a subclass that has the same signature. So you can look through here. So this method is called JVM, and you can see how the overriding would work within this program as the coding is performed. Working principles of method overriding. So just a couple of principles about overriding and how it can be done. Practice activity on overriding. So you can write this program, and then down here, of course, you could reveal the answer to see if you got that right. And finally, the overloading and overriding quiz. So make sure I have that posted over here. There I do, the quiz preview. And then the unit exam. And I don't have the unit exam over here. In place of the unit exam, I put in a unit research project. So no unit exam, but there is a unit research project. So if I click on that, you can see that unit research project. So what you'll do, these are some resource sites where you're going to do your own research on object-oriented programming. And again, as I explained in the last unit, the reason I've done this is because the variety of students that we have in this class, different skill levels you have, I wanted you to go explore this on your own as deep as you want, but you need to give me complete, full answers for these two questions based on the research that you've done on object-oriented programming. So that is all for this week, for week 6. So if I got back here, here's week 6, and that's everything for this week. So I look forward to your work coming in. And I have, it says week 6 exam in here, but as I said, I'll take that out. So I look forward to your work, and particularly getting your Class Connect write-up turned in and getting your quizzes done. Thanks, everyone. Bye.